Argentina's squad has been named for the Rugby Championship 2024, folks. I've been waiting for this one for a while. Also waiting for the Wallabies. Their squad is apparently still not out. The All Blacks and Boks have been out for quite some time. Felipe Contepomi has named a 31-man squad, which is going to tour New Zealand, play home against the Aussies, and then home and away to the Boks. It'll be changed throughout the Rugby Championship to be sure, but the initial 31-man squad sees the return of a number of veterans. Some of the kind of youngsters are out, and there are also guys out for injuries and personal reasons. But we'll go through the squad pretty quick, the kind of major changes and the fixtures. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how the squad is looking and how they may be going to go. Remembering that in July, the Argentinians had a bit of a mixed bag. They played the French B team, lost to them once in a really poor performance, beat them once in a really good, dominant, forward-driven performance, and then they played Uruguay, where Argentina switched up their side and absolutely put Uruguay to the sword. So it is hard to know where the Pumas are at, what the expectations are. I mean, just don't finish last, you would think would be probably the minimum expectations, with the Boks and the All Blacks certainly being more favoured. But the fact they've got Australia at home, they may see a chance to at least get a couple of wins on the board at home, you would think, and perhaps sneak another one. But they certainly will be underdogs against the All Blacks and against the Boks. But yeah, they do have the return of some veterans. And remember, part of the squad rotation is going to be with the Pumas, the fact that they have to rotate the squad because of the way the guys are playing so much rugby. These guys who play the rugby in Europe would normally be on the off-season, like the Irish and the Welsh and the English guys, right? They've started their off-season now, whereas the Pumas guys are just getting into the Rugby Championship if they play the rugby in Europe. So managing the minutes is also another factor for Felipe Contepomi to consider. Arasi Erasmus has got the same problem with the Springboks, and these guys don't get a full off-season, so it may be that you see some guys withdrawn for a couple of weeks from the competition just so they can kind of get a bit of rest and recuperation. The veterans who are back, man, Augustine Creevy is back. The 39-year-old, 108 cap, most cap Puma of all time, has not hung up the boots yet. He will certainly not be the primary guy to play hooker because Montoya is still the captain. But Creevy is back. Good to see that guy still trucking along. Makes me not feel that old because he's about my age. Joel Sclavi is back, the prop. He plays for La Rochelle, one of the premier clubs in European club rugby. So certainly a guy to bolster the scrum, which needs to be on song. Like in the first game against France, they were under the pump. And then they showed what they could do in the second game against France. So they need to be that second game kind of team when they play these Rugby Championship sides. Thomas Lavanini is back. He gets a lot of stick for his discipline. For sure, he's got a really bad reputation discipline-wise. But he's a veteran, 86 caps, 31 years old. I feel like, and I haven't done the stats on it, I feel like his discipline numbers have been getting better over the years. I could be dead wrong on that, but that's what I feel like. And certainly when his discipline is right, he's one of the most effective, monstrous, big human second rowers that you can encounter. They've got a youngster in the second row as well, Efrain Elias. Apologies if that's not the correct pronunciation. 20 years old, played for the under-20, I think captain the under-20s. He's the only uncapped guy in the side, but he's a big unit, already kind of 2 meters tall. In a kind of much changed Pumas second row. Like the traditional guys that you've seen over recent years, there's been three stalwarts, Lavanini, Petty, and Alamano. Well, Petty has not been called up. He's one of the guys who would have been unavailable due to top 14 commitments, but he's not been given a call up. Matthias Alamano was also featured in July. Didn't read that he's injured, but he's not in the Pumas squad. So of those three usual suspects for Argentina, only Lavanini appears in this Rugby Championship initial squad. So very, very different with Molina, who debuted in the July test and looked really good, and Rubiolo, the kind of other locks in the squad. They've also got Crema, who can play lock if needs be. The only loose forward who's been called into the squad is Juan Martin Gonzalez. For mine, one of the best loose forwards in the world. Really dynamic ball carrier, great offloading game, good gas, high tackle rate. Like just a great player. He's already got 31 caps and he's only 23 years old. So certainly a fantastic guy to bolster what is already a pretty good Pumas back row. There's fewer changes in the backs. There's still no Boffelli, who is injured. They have been able to bring back Lucio Cinti. Remember, he can play in the midfield or in the outside backs, but one would think primarily in the midfield because there's no De La Fuente, who's dropped out of the squad for personal reasons. And then there's the return of Juan Cruz Malia, who plays rugby in the top 14 as well. So can also play in the midfield if needs be too. So yeah, certainly a kind of experienced guy to have back. There's still a question at 10, I think, for the Pumas. They obviously still lean towards Santiago Carreras. Recent coaching staff has done that. Contepomi has done that for his first couple of games against France. But he did give Albornoz a chance against Uruguay. It's just a different dynamic because Carreras is the kind of former outside back. I know he's played his youth grade rugby at 10. But at his club, he plays a lot of the time in the outside backs. He's preferred at 10 for Argentina, but he's certainly a very running and attacking-minded 10, whereas Albornoz is more of the kind of traditional playmaking 10. So which direction they go down, I still think it's going to be Carreras, but I would like to see Albornoz at least get one shot to pull the strings, because he plays well for Benetton for his club. And as I said, there's something about a playmaking 10, playing 10, which appeals to me. Some of the guys who were maybe unlucky to miss out, Joaquim Moro is one of the debutants who played against Uruguay, had a great debut but doesn't make the squad, the loose forward. There's also no spot for Lucas Paulos, who's kind of been one of those locks in and out of the squad of the Pumas in recent years. And also Ignacio Mendy, who scored a hat-trick against Uruguay on the wing, but not good enough to get him into the squad. So it's Mateo Carrera, Santiago Correro, and Batista Del Rey, who are the kind of three specialist wingers chosen in this one. Average age of the squad is a little bit younger than the other two. Average age of the forwards is like 26, which is a bit younger than the All Blacks 27, and I think the Boks are 29. So it's a youngish forward pack. But remember, Augustine Creevy's 39, so he's bringing up the numbers a wee bit there. The backs are about the same age as the All Blacks ones, a little bit younger than the Boks at 27. Caps-wise, pretty similar. 36 average caps for the forwards and 32 for the backs. A little bit less than the likes of South Africa and New Zealand, but not by a kind of huge margin. They do start their run in New Zealand, 2 away games, which is certainly going to be pretty tough. Maybe Pablo Matera, who played for Scott Robertson before at the Crusaders, can have some insights and give Felipe Contepomi some inside words. I'm sure they'll be doing their analysis. Then the 2 home games against Australia. One would think those are the games that are going to be especially targeted. Whether the Pumas go in as favourites will be interesting to see. And then home and away against the Springboks. What do you guys reckon? How do you think the Pumas are going to go? Do you think they can be competitive? Or do you think it's just Boks and All Blacks on one level, Pumas and Wallabies on another? Because if you look at the world rankings, there is a bit of a split between the top 2 Rugby Championship sides and the bottom 2. Check out America's Rugby News. If you haven't, they are a great news source for all things South American rugby, also North American rugby. There's a bit of MLR content on there as well. Certainly getting English news about the Pumas can be pretty difficult, but you can find that on the America's Rugby News site. If I remember, I'll put a link down in the description, but otherwise just Google America's Rugby News. You guys let us know your thoughts about the Pumas, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.